Martin's dad and my dad were good mates at Clydesdale, still are good mates. So they played hockey at Clydesdale, so I've known Martin since we were both born. So 1976 for me, Martin was 1977, and since we're Waynes, we've been at school together. I left school, went to uni, came back from uni in 98, and I bought a flat and Martin moved in with me. So we lived together for about 4 years. So from the age of about 21, 22 till about 25, 6, we were youngsters having some fun. He worked as a baker at the time, so he was up every morning about sort of 4, 5 o'clock to get to work. By the time I came back from school, etc., he was probably in his bed sleeping because he was that knackered. But no, I think I did more of the dishes. He was probably a better cook, to be fair, but...
Well, he played hockey here as a youth hockey, various underage games, but he also played cricket here, and in fact cricket was more important for him for a while because he got into the first team. He was the sort of batsman, wicket-keeper, and he did some umpiring, probably because I did it, and he got more and more interested in the umpiring and less in playing hockey.
We played together at juniors at Clydesdale I think we both started at sort of 7 or 8 years old at Clydesdale. Played all the way through. Martin's kind of stopped playing when he was at 15 and picked up umpiring then. But I guess one of the sort of signs that maybe his hockey playing career wasn't to be was with, I think it was the West District Under-12s tournament at East Kilbride on the Blaze. And we got to the final, but Martin got sent off because I had a vote him for not being able to stop the defender. So he was red carded under 12s. He won't like me for saying it, but I was probably to blame for winding him up. But then he started umpiring from about 14, 15, and you could see he was going to be good. Same as his dad. You know, he had the ability. He's got that affinity with people that you can talk to and have a laugh with. And you actually know if Martin's umpiring a game, it's the same with Sarah Wilson. If you've got them umpiring, you know it's going to be good fun. It's just the way they handle the players is brilliant. It's so simple, straightforward, but you could tell he was going to be an umpire. You could tell he was going to be good.
I really didn't give him a lot of coaching. He did most of it himself. I mean, I would maybe help him out on some management issues and things he might have done a wee bit better, but it really was basically most of his own making.
And Martin obviously started coming through, and I've known him for a number of years as well. And again, he's another one. He's laid back. He's got a really dry sense of humour as well, and just good fun and great to be part of a team with.
I actually started umpiring 1997, 98, and Martin would have been a young 17, 18-year-old umpire at Clydesdale. And even then, you could tell that just his mannerisms and the way that he actually approached the game and his relationship with players, you could tell even then he was going to be a really good umpire. He was a bit rough around the edges in terms of he was a wee bit too direct, but in terms of his decision making and his relationship with players, it was really good. And he always was very comfortable, and he always made me feel very comfortable. So I've nothing but good experiences with him.
I would probably say a similar thing about Martin. Like, you see him now, the guy's like, I think he's a real, he's absolutely world class at umpiring. But I mean, I've known Martin probably since I started playing hockey in Scotland when I was 14. Martin was umpiring, which is, about 25 years ago, pretty much. So, I think again, he's a real example of somebody that has worked really hard to achieve what he's done. I think there's no doubt in that.
So he's quite articulate, very direct, and he will always, I've always known that Martin will give time. Sometimes he's got work pressure because of the job he's got, but he'll always give you some time after the game to have a wee chat about things that either you find important or that he wants to talk about. He's very, very good for that. And he's absolutely world-class umpire, but in some ways he's quite humble. He's very like Sarah that way. I think their attributes are they're very humble and they do appreciate the support.
But I think people like Martin's example are really approachable, and of course there's a line and it shouldn't be crossed, and I think there's a good line with that, and there's a good able to really kind of communicate that well with the players without feeling like you have to give away, you've cards unnecessarily, so everybody knows where they're at. So I think, if you look at someone like Martin especially, you would say that he's very good at that. You know exactly where you stand. You can definitely have a conversation with him at the right time. And and I think also able to reflect honestly on what they saw and what they couldn't see. That's really useful. No one ever is expecting a player or an umpire to be able to see or do everything. So being, kind of accepting that, I think is quite important.
He is a people's person, and I think the players respond to that, and very rarely does he have problems with players. And he'll let the players play their game, and he'll control the various things that happen. But at the end of the day, if they don't behave, they go off. And but he will give them a reasonable amount of leeway. And then when he puts them off, of course, they can't really complain. But no, I think that's one of his biggest strengths is his man management of a game.
I think his dad has an influence in Martin's development, because his dad is a retired World Cup and Olympic umpire as well. But Martin's very much his own man. He's got a very different style from his dad. He's quite direct. And I think Martin's real skill is that the players always know where they are with Martin, so there's never any surprises. Martin will always let the players know if they get an opportunity. If you do that again, this is what's going to happen. And I think from an athlete's perspective, they like that. And I think that's why Martin's is so highly regarded, not just in Scotland but abroad, because what you see with Martin is what you get. There's no surprises.
I went to watch the Commie Games. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been the semi-finals or something like this. And I think it was England or Australia were playing, and someone said something, and he just whipped round this response, and he had the crowd in stitches, and he had the players in stitches. And I think the player he was referring to just went, "Yeah, fair cop, no problems." It's that way he's got, the manner he's got with the players. It's so simple and straightforward, and that helps him get to what he's got to. And I think he's always had a way with people. Both his mum and dad were teachers, so he's got that natural ability to relate to people. And as a policeman now, he knows how to deal with people of all backgrounds. Whether it's someone from the posher parts of the world or the lesser parts, he can deal with them equally. He doesn't see as one group of people being better than another. Everyone's equal in his eyes, and he has a bit of chat with it, and the players like that.
So I remember one of the last games that I ever umpired in Scotland was a cup final. I think it was Mingus Hill and Kelburn. I think it was at Beffermill, one of the last finals at Beffermill. And one of the Mingus Hill players had asked for a foul, and it was more or less the halfway line, so either of us could give it. And I think we blew in different directions, and I heard him over the radio, and he just said, "John, he hasn't a clue what he's looking for, and neither have we, so we'll just, who's closer?" And I think I was a yard closer, we'll just go with yours. But that's a really good example of Martin, sensing, it's a nothing decision, and to be honest, he's probably right. The players just put their hands up and they feel things, and because both of us seen it different ways, that's a really good example of that. And I think that's the connection. He does his best to connect with both his colleagues. I think that's crucial. And with the players, that they just like that, and he can laugh things off as well. So he has a really good habit of disarming players just by coming up with a one-liner that just takes the sting out of situations. And again, I think if you get players having a wee laugh with you, and they get that yeah, it's okay, and we might disagree, but you see the funny side of it, that they really will work with you. Martin does that all the time.
So when Martin left, not saying I was a bad influence on Martin, because that's not the case whatsoever. He'll say otherwise. But I reckon when he moved out of the flat and moved in with his girlfriend, fiance, now wife at the time, he moved out from being a baker, he went into the police force. And I think that was maybe a turning point in him saying, right, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to do this. He got himself much fitter, he was much more on the ball, he almost changed a little bit overnight. And maybe that's just, some people, grow up at age 16, some people at 20, some people at 24, whatever it is. So maybe that was his turning point. And he is much fitter, much stronger. He looks after himself a little bit better now than he used to do, certainly living in the flat. So yeah, maybe that was, but you could always tell as umpiring he could go as far as he wanted to. But I think maybe at that age, he sort of just went, right, I'm going to go for this and do it. And he's all the sort of plaudits he gets and all the stuff he's achieved is thoroughly deserved.
I think it was a Champions Trophy he was umpiring I think it was in Australia, and it was Australia against the Netherlands. I think it was the final, and the last 10 minutes of the game, I think the Dutch were attacking, and he had penalty corner after penalty corner and so on and so forth. He was under an immense amount of pressure, and he just sailed through it. And Martin doesn't, everything's the same. Martin doesn't panic. He's not that sort of person. He just gets on with it. So that game, I remember watching it, I think it was on video afterwards, and I thought, well, you did bloody well there. To keep your cool, just keep making the decisions. And at the end of the day, there were no complaints. So.
I remember seeing a real kind of turning point for him where he decided, right, I'm going to do this really to the best of my ability, I think. And and I think he's, again, another like a great example. There's been really good role models within Scotland of great umpires. They've got a really good, I suppose there is a good legacy of, like, you had Jed Curran, then moving on to Martin and Sarah. But I mean, that's really fantastic. To have people of that level umpiring in Scotland and passing on their knowledge is fantastic, And I'm really chuffed for both Martin and Sarah, actually.
I think it sort of shows what is out there for people that want to umpire, that they can reach that standard. And alright, people say we've not got a lot of umpires, but the ones we do have seem to manage to get to that top level. And I just think it shows that, you might not be the greatest player in the world, but either through umpiring, if you enjoy it, if you're young, go for it. You've got the chance of getting to an Olympics or two, the way these guys have.
It's funny, I mean, as a Scotland nation, as a hockey nation, we best in the come as like 19th ranked in the world, 18th ranked in the world. It's certainly in my time. If you look at my time, we've had Martin, Jed, Andy Mayer, and that's just in my playing time. We produced some of the best umpires in the world. 2012, Andy and Jed both did the final together. I mean, I don't know what it is and why we produce umpires, but the ones we do produce are absolute class.
He watches things, obviously part of his police training as well, but he watches things and clicks onto things, and he's actually really good with some of our younger umpires as well.
And I know from my position as ex-chair of the International Appointments Panel, his support to our fledgling and developing umpires to try and find our next Martin Madden's been second to none, and he's been nothing but supportive in that manner. And despite the fact that it's come at some cost to him in terms of his time with his family and all that, he's taken the time to help these guys, and that's crucial for our succession planning within Scottish hockey. Certainly from an official's perspective.
He said he was going to do it and give it a go, but I don't think he had set I'm going to go to the Olympics, etc. But I do remember when we first moved into the flat, so in '98, we both sort of having a chat after a couple of drinks, we're having a laugh. It'd be funny if we both go to the Olympics. And right enough, I got there in 2004, but he's done me. He's gone twice. So he's done 2016, and he's going again this year. So, and he's got the abilities to go again. He's that good. He could go to 3 and outdo me, outdo his dad. And his dad's done 2, so Martin's done 2, so who knows what's next?
Yes, obviously we've both been successful at what I mean, I would never have made international level as a player. I mean, I played first team here, but nowhere near that. I think, yes, 4 Olympic Games in the family. I'm not sure how many other families can say that. But while it is an accolade, I suppose, I've taken, and I'm sure Martin's exactly the same, taken a lot of pleasure out of being involved in international hockey. It's not just the game, which is of course important. It's the people you meet, the places you go to, the fun you have, the problems you have. That all of these things are in many respects more important than any accolades. I'm not a gong type person. It's my memories and what my experience, and it'll be Martin's memories and what his experiences are, that will be lasting rather than an Olympic medal or what have you. But no, it's a tremendous world if you can get into it, international hockey, and you can get really a lot of pleasure out of it, and get a lot of kudos too, but a lot of very good memories. And I'm sure he'll have exactly the same. And while Tokyo will be different, I don't think there's any doubt of that, he'll come back with positive memories I would like to think. And anyway, he'll just have to see what happens.
Well, big man, all the best. We've both come some distance from '98 in that flat. You've outdone me. You've gone to 2 Olympics. Well done, thoroughly deserved. Good luck and stay injury free. Look after yourself and keep off those beers until after the tournament.